At noon, the sky forgets its name. The familiar star, a white-hot engine of days and seasons, is replaced, without fanfare, without mercy, by a smoldering ember with the gravity of a whisper and the color of cooled iron. A brown dwarf, wandering and wordless, takes the sun's throne. The blue of the sky dissolves into a deep velvet black that not even the bravest day can penetrate. The radiant heat that once pressed against your skin becomes a memory your body can't quite hold. The light that taught us how to read our world is gone, replaced by a warmth that lives in wavelengths we do not see. The disk that rises is 10 times smaller, a bruise-colored coin faint as a thought. Birds circle, confused. Shadows evaporate. On the ocean, the wind reconsiders its direction. And somewhere in the equations that govern the great quiet machinery of the heavens, the leash slips, the numbers cross a forbidden threshold, and the Earth begins to fall out of the story it thought it knew. What happens when the heart of a solar system is replaced with a thing that never fully learned to burn? What happens to orbits when the weight at the center is not enough? What happens to life when its letters of light are erased? If the sky itself can be swapped like a mask, what does that reveal about the soul of a world? Tonight, we follow the unbinding. We will watch the elegant clockwork of planets lose their balance, the circles stretching into open doors. We will listen to the oceans thicken into glass, to the air itself grow heavy and hush. We will step into the borderlands between star and planet, where brown dwarfs, failed lights, secret fires, offer a narrow and perilous warmth just beyond the edge of tidal ruin. We will feel the heliosphere collapse like a tent pulled down in a storm, and the interstellar wind pour over us raw and unfiltered. And at the end, we'll find a quiet, golden insight that our home is not a place but a balance, and that balance is a choice we can learn to make. The first thing that goes is the binding. Gravity is a promise, and the promise's strength is written in mass dot. The sun was 1,000,000 Earths of certainty. A brown dwarf is a fraction, a heavy Jupiter, 50 suns worth of Jupiter stacked into a sphere no wider than Jupiter itself. Its radius is small, its density immense, but its mass is barely a 20th of the star we knew. Orbits are agreements struck between speed and pull. For Earth, that speed, 30 kilometers per second, made a perfect circle under the sun's hand. Replace that hand with one weaker than half, and the bargain collapses. The mathematics is simple and cruel. If the central mass falls below half, every circular orbit becomes an escape route. In an instant, the Earth changes from a planet into a departure. It keeps its speed, finds the pull too small, and turns the circle into a curve that never comes home. The difference is a whisper, a fraction in the right place. The consequence is exile. We don't rocket away, we drift along our own tangent, an elegant, unstoppable unspooling. Within one day, we are millions of kilometers from the ember that sits where the sun once beat. Within a month, we are out past Mars's road. Within a year, we are not a solar system anymore. We are a story with no center. We look back. At 1 astronomical unit, the brown dwarf is tiny, a coffee-black coin that gives almost no day. The sky is full of stars even at noon, and the ember at the heart of our old life is not bright enough to cast a shadow you can see. It radiates most of its light in infrared, beyond our eyes, as if this new overlord will only speak in a language our bodies never learned. You could hold up your hand and see nothing change. And yet, the numbers speak. What once was a flood, over 1,000 watts per square meter, has become a trickle, perhaps a handful, perhaps less than a single candle's worth spread wide across each square meter of Earth. Pick a young, hot brown dwarf and you might get the light of a perpetual twilight. Pick an old wanderer and you receive almost nothing at all. No one grows sunflowers for an ember. Heat has its own inertia. The oceans have memory. For days, the air holds on to the ghost of sunlight. For weeks, the ground exhales the last breaths of summer. The wind reorganizes, the rain falters, and the nights lengthen into something more than darkness. The global thermostat, once balanced by a steady influx of photons, discovers a new equilibrium defined by loss. Within a week, average temperatures plunge below freezing. Within months, the surface waters of the ocean grow a lid of ice. Within a few years, that lid thickens by tens, then hundreds of meters, a seal of silence that only the deep hearth of the planet can argue with. The atmosphere, deprived of heat, contracts and dries. Carbon dioxide, heavy with cold, deposits as pale frost on rock. Nitrogen waits longer, stubborn against freezing, but the trajectory is toward stillness. Plants starve for photons long before they suffer the cold. Photosynthesis is a script written for a different sky. The forests become archives, the fields become museums. Life retreats down to where volcanic blood and hydrothermal breath write a different story. The surface becomes a cathedral of ice. We were once wrapped in more than light. We were wrapped in the sun's wind, a river of charged particles that inflated a heliosphere, a bubble of influence long enough to cradle comets and keep the wild weather of the galaxy at arm's length. The brown dwarf cannot replace that breath. Its outflow is thin, reluctant. The sun's bubble collapses, not catastrophically but completely, like canvas folding in on its poles. The interstellar medium flows in, grain by grain, ion by ion, and cosmic rays, high-energy messengers from ancient explosions, arrive in greater numbers. Our own magnetic field holds its shape, but our shield was never meant to stand alone. The sky grows quiet in a different register. The auroras shift, the ionosphere recalibrates, radio whispers bend and break. Meanwhile, the comets we once claimed in distant darkness lose their leash as we did. The Oort Cloud stops being ours and becomes the galaxy's again. Meteors might come more often for a while, then grow rare as our path diverges from all the old alignments. The brown dwarf, for its part, may carry its own weather, a magnetic field fierce for its size, auroral radio storms crackling like invisible lightning. But we are already falling away, no longer its concern, no longer anyone's child. And yet there is an intimacy in embers. Move in close enough and even a failing fire can warm a hand. If a world could circle a brown dwarf, where would comfort live? The arithmetic is ruthless and beautiful. To receive as much energy as Earth once did, you would have to nestle within a few 100,000 kilometers of the dwarf's face, closer than the moon is to us, closer than the space where tides begin to grind. For a faint old object, the habitable ribbon may slip inside the roach limit, where gravity is cruel and rock forgets its cohesion. For a young and radiant one, the ribbon lies barely outside that limit, so near that any world would be tidally locked. The same face always seeing the ember, the same night a permanent country. On the day side, mirrors of cloud would sculpt climates. On the night side, an atmosphere thick with heat would carry warmth over the terminator into cold. Photosynthesis would not die. It would adapt or be reinvented. Chlorophyll is not a law, it is a solution. There are pigments on Earth that drink infrared, bacteria that harvest energy from wavelengths we call heat. Imagine forests of carbon fiber leaves reading light we cannot see. Imagine oceans under red skies, their colors muted to wine, their storms shaped by a sun that is more hearth than glare. Then recall this. Brown dwarfs cool with time. Their habitable circles are not rings so much as inward spirals, moving closer century by century, a promised land slipping toward a precipice. To live there is to migrate without moving, to adjust as the stove is rolled away. What remains when a world is unbound? A rogue Earth is not a corpse but a chrysalis. Beneath kilometers of ice, the mantle does not forget its convective dance. Plate tectonics grinds. Hydrothermal vents release not just heat but gradients, the true coin of life. The deep biosphere thrives now, as it always did, largely indifferent to the sky's mood. If intelligence persists, it learns new habits. Cities move underground, power is drawn from fission and geothermal seams, agriculture curls around LEDs made of our stubbornness and memory. Our calendars change. Day and night become metaphors. Years become distances measured behind us. The stars no longer circle, we do. With time, we might build engines to push our home toward a new hearth, slow tugboats made of fusion and will. Or we might learn to live between stars as other creatures live between tides, catching what warmth we can from passing embers, turning gravity wells into way stations. And in this wandering, we might finally understand the galaxy's hidden majority. Brown dwarfs are not rare. The nearest are only a few light-years away, quiet twins like Lumen 16, colder cousins like WISE 0855 that barely glow. Now and then, a star has brushed our farthest comets. Schultz's little visitor did so 70,000 years ago, a red dwarf and its companion drifting past at the edge of our dark. A true swap is vanishingly unlikely, but the lesson is not in the odds. The lesson is in the anatomy of dependence. Because in the end, this is not a tale about doom. It is an X-ray of a relationship, mass and light, gravity and heat, orbit and breath. Our sun is not simply a lamp, it is a metronome, a pillar, a covenant. The brown dwarf is not simply a failure, it is a teacher. Poised at the boundary between star and planet, it shows us how thin the hinge is on which everything turns. Have the mass at the center and you unmake the clock. Move the hearth inward far enough to warm your hands, and the tide reaches for your fingers. There is a golden insight in this narrowness. Home is balance, and balance is built. The universe does not promise us comfort. It offers gradients and thresholds. Life is the art of walking them. If we learn that art, we become more than a species that needs a star. We become a species that can be a star, for one another at least, and maybe, in time, for real, by building the fires we require. If this journey stirred awe or unease, if the idea of a twilight world set adrift opens questions you want to chase, leave them below and let's wander together. Like the video, if you felt the chill and the wonder, share it with someone who loves impossible thought experiments, and subscribe to keep exploring the fragile edges where physics meets poetry. Your curiosity is the fuel, your voice is the map. A star, after all, is not a place. It is a verb. And if the sky ever forgets how to conjugate it, may we remember how.